Chris Stevens, legal?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd like to call to the table your legal interns, Janelle and Tori, and this is a very important, but in my view, sad meeting for me, especially because this is going to be the last time that they present to you. They're going to be moving on to bigger and better things. So first, I wanted to give them the opportunity to present, again, a brief legal update on issues that they've actually chosen and developed. And then, if it's okay with you, Mr. Chair, I'd like to reserve just a little bit of time after they're done. I know you had a comment you'd like to make, and I had a few words that I wanted to say as well. So,
very good.
So who would like to go first?
I'll go first. Finally, this is again the court response to the request for the extension of the new Fish and Wildlife Service biological opinions for the consolidated fish cases. On April 9th, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of California published the decision and order regarding what I had spoken about on previous meetings, the motion to extend the remand schedule for the biological opinions. Again, this is the same extension, and it was granted with some limitations. I'm briefly going to go over the history and give a couple of points before explaining what exactly these limitations are. The history, early in January, as you may recall, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services and the Department of Water Resources requested a 3-year extension for the biological opinions regarding the impact on the Central Valley Project and state water projects on the Delta Smelt, originally due December 1st, 2013. On January 30th, 2013, the court remanded the request until March. In March, Department of Water Resources filed their updated extension request, and an order has been published granting that staged extension. The reason for the extension is based on the Collaborative Science and Adaptive Management Program, CSAMP, and recent changes to the BDCP that would also allow for further collaboration amongst stakeholders for a better biological opinion. This is relevant to the Council because CSAMP will follow standardized and generally accepted protocols for a collaborative science process. And mentioned in this case, it says it will likely involve a 9-step protocol developed by the Delta Stewardship Council. Also, these biological opinions control permits for project operations, so there's a direct correlation to water supply reliability. And it's also important to note that Fish and Wildlife Services has already completed and transmitted to Reclamation a draft revised smelt biop, and Reclamation has begun the related scoping process under NEPA. So they were on schedule to complete the biop at the original December 1st deadline, and they believe that there was actually new developments that would benefit the public if this extension were granted. So the holding was a staged extension. Judge Lawrence O'Neill says, given that the CSAMP is targeted to form and develop key questions and experimental designs by January 1st, 2014, approximately 9 months from now, all deadlines in both the smelt and salmonid cases are extended by 1 year. But rather than granting movements a 3-year blank check, the court will grant a staged extension. On or before February 15th of 2014, the parties should submit a joint status report to the court detailing progress that's been made in connection with CSAMP and providing additional information about future activities and how any results will be incorporated into the consultation process. As part of this submission, the court expects to see detailed schedules describing how CSAMP and the consultation processes in both cases will proceed. Concurrent with the filing of the status report, the court will then entertain a request to extend the remand schedule by an additional year. If substantial progress has been made along the lines outlined by the movements in their prior court documents, then the extension will be granted. If substantial progress has not been made, then it won't be granted. And then that'll happen again to see whether a third year will be granted. The extension of the deadlines will require a similar showing at the end of the second year. Do you have any questions?
Is that the entirety of the order you just read, or is there more to it?
There's a detailed legal analysis.
Could you make that available to me?
Yes.
The entire order?
Yes.
Thank you.
We will continue to monitor the progress of this case.
Yeah, great report. It sounds complicated.
If you say you're going to continue to monitor, you're going to come back then just for guest appearances then?
If you want me to, I will be here anytime
sure,
you like.
Lori, why not? You're now published in the Denver Water Report, or the Law News. I saw that last month as well, right?
That's correct. Actually, that was provided in your packets today. I wrote an analysis on the Bay Delta Conservation Plan. I had noticed earlier in the fall that I couldn't find any kind of grounded, realistic analysis and explanation about what the legal requirements of BDCP are and what stage that we're at in the process. And so I decided to delve into that issue and try to publish it to help. So that's in your packets.
Yeah, and I think we're going to talk about that just for a second after you're done with the analysis. But thank you for raising that, and we did include it
very
in
well
your
done.
packet.
I appreciated your insight and your summations of that.
Thank you.
Captured a lot of the essence of it, I think. So.
Okay, well, is this on? Yes, now?
Yes,
Okay.
you are. You're on now.
My issue this morning is much less complicated than Tori's, and it involves the human right to water. Back in September of 2012, Assembly Bill 685 was passed and became law within the Water Code Section 106.3, which declares it is the established policy of the state of California that every human being has the right to safe, clean, affordable, and accessible water. On Friday, April 19th, a federal official from the United States Environmental Protection Agency announced that the state of California has failed to spend $455 million of safe drinking water funds. According to the EPA, the state of California can lose these federal funds if they are not put to use addressing contamination threats. The state has been given 60 days to submit a corrective plan, which, if not accepted, could result in suspended payments. This unspent safe drinking water fund is important because there are areas within California that desperately require the money to address various contamination issues with their water. For example, in the San Joaquin Valley, there are over 250,000 people in rural towns with inadequately safe drinking water. A study out of the University of California at Davis from 2012 suggests that some of the San Joaquin's worst drinking water problems, for example, nitrates from fertilizers, could be addressed and cleaned up for a fraction of this unspent money that the state still has sitting on the table. So one might ask, why hasn't the money been spent? It appears that it's less about finding a need for it and more about developing an adequate plan, procedure, and mechanism for distributing the money in a responsible fashion. For example, some of the smaller and most needy water systems simply do not have the capacity to handle the money provided to them. Therefore, allocated funds can remain stagnant for years at a time. The EPA is particularly interested in this issue due in part to their involvement in the San Joaquin region. The agency held meetings with the California Department of Public Health throughout 2012 to identify the water needs of small rural communities. The EPA hopes to bring 21 water systems in the valley into compliance each year for the next 3 years. They are willing to provide the funding, however, the state is responsible for implementation and allocation of the funds. It's not fully clear what the implications of this issue are. It's not certain whether legislative action is necessary to help address the problem, perhaps something more than last year's bill that merely asserts the human right to water. But we'll continue to monitor this case, and maybe my successors will update you as they arise.
You're not planning on coming back then, huh?
Well, thanks very much. I just wanted to pass along again my deep appreciation for everything that you've done for me and for the council. And I think, as the council knows, you guys are really examples of the new generation of lawyers / policy / water leaders that we really need. We've got the issues aren't new, as you know. You're becoming familiar with them quickly. But what we really need are progressive, smart, pragmatic people, young people that have enthusiasm to tackle these issues. And I thank the council for giving me and you the opportunity for you to come up and present, because I think it's it's important that you not only know the issues, but you know how to communicate them. So it's been good practice, hopefully good educational experience. Janelle's a second-year student at UC Davis. She was very lucky and appreciative to get an internship with DWR, which she'll be starting shortly, and then recently accepted an internship with a prominent Sacramento water law firm. So that's good news. Tori is a third-year law student at McGeorge. She'll be graduating shortly, taking the bar and moving on to bigger and better things. A couple things that I wanted to note. First, before I talk about Tori's article, which we included in your packet, both of these ladies have been real go-getters. They network, they talk to people, they start fantastic clubs, they hold field trips, they hold seminars. They're really out there doing a lot of good work. One great example is something that they just started, and hopefully we have pamphlets out on the back table if anybody's interested. And you might want to say a few words, but it's the California Water Law Journal that's out there, and it's just starting up. It sounds like a really exciting opportunity to get engagement not only from academics but actually practitioners in the field as well as policymakers. And so why don't you just say a few quick words?
Sure. Thank you. We're really excited to announce this collaborative effort to produce an online law review journal. The articles, similar to the BDCP article published by the Denver Water Law Review in your packets, focus on current issues in water law in California. These articles hopefully will be a useful tool for this community. Our vision is to provide a means for students, attorneys, and policymakers to exchange information and share perspectives in a substantive manner.
The editing process is facilitated and reviewed by a practicing attorney in water law. Our current advisors are water law attorneys at DWR, Downey Brand, the State Water Resources Control Board, and KMTG. Any student or attorney may write and publish freely to the journal, and articles will be published once certification is complete. Students will be subject to the editing process, but not the attorneys unless requested.
And just as a disclaimer, this is a sneak preview. Our first article will be published in 2 to 3 weeks. So we're currently undergoing just a few more updates to our website before we go live, so please keep that in mind if you visit the website before then. Other than in those packets, please find our brochures at the table at the entrance. I did put them there before today's meeting.
Great. And then finally, I just wanted to touch upon the piece that we did include in the packets that you've now referred to, that Councilmember Natoli talked about. And I personally think it's a great example of how one ambitious, curious law student, Tori, took it upon herself to really delve into complex issues. And I have to admit, as Chair Fiorini noted, the whole idea of BDCP and state and federal operations and permitting and remand, and it's very complex. And so you have shown great courage in delving into this. And so I thought the article was very well done. And I know that Mr. Fiorini wanted to say a few words about that as well. So I'll turn it over to him.
Thank you, Chris. Janelle, Tori, to both of you, thank you for the service you've provided to the council. One of the most rewarding aspects of serving as a council member is to watch young talent come through here. And I am encouraged that our future is in good hands. And I really appreciate the depth of knowledge that you've demonstrated in providing the reports to us each month, and I wanted to wish you well in your careers as you move forward. I did not know that this was going to be your last meeting, and yesterday I talked to Chris Stevens about the appropriateness of writing Tori a letter commending you for your article that appeared in the University of Denver Water Law Review. And I was struck by the way you explained a very complex issue. And for those of us up here, we're going to be wading through 27,000 pages of documents to figure out what BDCP is all about. But for most of my friends that I visit with about water now and then, they want a real simple explanation, easily understood, about what are the issues and why is this being done. Your article provides that. You really did a magnificent job in distilling this down to the important facts and sharing the tension that exists out there about competing interests. So there's a letter here from me, from the council, acknowledging that you wrote this article and did a great job, and put it in your file, and maybe sometime it'll be of value to you as you're applying for a job. But to both of you, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I provide some comments from a...
Yes.
I just wanted to thank you, ladies, very much for your professionalism, your knowledge, and your, really getting involved in a very complex issue of water. I just saw the article, and it just a couple of things that just made me think that you're very courageous, Tori, in terms of writing this article, because when I hear you say that some of the issues are not just complex, but you question some of the decisions or some of the thoughts that are out there. I think it's very courageous because, as Randy said, it is a complex issue. But when I started to read this article, it became very clear, answering some of the things that maybe lay people may not understand. And being law students and knowing the law and writing something like this, that, people can understand it, because BDCP is very complex. Water issues, very complex. Delta Stewardship Council plan, I think, is complex. But when you tackle something like this at, where you are in your law career, I think it's very courageous. And I wish both of you well. I know you will be outstanding attorneys. I look forward to seeing your name in print as you move along. And thank you for your service here to the council. So good luck to both of you.
Yeah, I would just ditto certainly what Randy and Gloria both said, and extend my thanks and appreciation to you on behalf of certainly this council, but I think on the broader public. Whether you know it or not, you probably have a following that's going to miss seeing you regularly on the on the website. So you'll have to do your Twitter accounts or Facebook or whatever else you do, or through the California Water Law Journal. But I would just, and for one who's not into all that stuff, I guess I'll just read your articles as they're published. But I would just say that I think that this effort that's been launched, obviously in concert with some of your advisors and others, I think will serve not only the legal community and the water community, but I think the broader community very well in the years to come. I think it's important, obviously, to know and to understand and to, I think, appreciate the legal aspects of anything. But I think, as you captured, Tori, and certainly Janelle, in your comments over time as you've reported on things to this council, recognize that when it boils down to, kind of going back to what you reported on, Janelle, the human right to water, that that the dependency on water for all living things, all living creatures, is very, very important. And then the complexities of people trying to figure out solutions to very complex issues involves, obviously, legal and political aspects. But I think your work here has been stellar, that you exemplify, I think, as Chris said a moment ago, I think what's best about not only young people, but people in general, but those who have devoted themselves to pursuing a career in law, and one I think that you'll be very successful at. You've demonstrated that thus far, and I want to wish you well. And certainly on this effort, I think, again, probably 100 years from now or 90 years from now, when this plan is run its course relative to certainly to what the Act is called for in planning, the Water Journal will be a complement to that all the way along. But people look back at this point in history and recognize that the work that was done, that you assisted in and advised in, but also I think establishment of this particular aspect of information will be very, very useful in the decades to come. So I wish you well. congratulations, and we'll miss not seeing you here for the council.
And thank all of you for providing this opportunity for us. I can't think of any other internship or externship that could ever do anything like this. So thank you.
That's good. Spread the word. Anyone else? Chris, anything? Thank you.
Thank you.